I've been in the business for ridiculously long time. I'm one of those fossils who started designing quite a while back. I've been working with quite a few brands, as you can see here, and on quite a few devices. I have a blog of mine. You can follow me on Twitter. That's largely what I do. I think it's important to kind of talk about the introductory piece of what this course contains and what you guys will probably get at the end of the course, depending on how eager you are to take the course in its fullness. User experience as a concept is about making technology products approachable and intuitive. I guess I don't need to explain this. You guys understand what it means. It is any product that we use today, whether it's a watch or whether it's including things that are home appliances, including, you can be a user experience designer who can actually design a completely new coffee maker, which is absolutely valid, with or without a screen. But it includes the idea of a user being able to cohesively understand what the good experience of using something is and making it intuitive and approachable, not very intimidating. Now, you don't make it like really complex. And the second thing is to make it cohesive, connected experience. Like, for example, there are parts to everything that you will design. Does it flow very well from one place to the other? Is it intuitive for me to flow from one place to the other and get all the stuff done quite easily? Is it compelling or desirable? I mean, like, there are lots of conversations that I've had with especially the earlier users of iPhone or the present users of Pixel 3, that there is a lust that is involved beyond a certain point. That is the most interesting way of making it desirable. You can actually make people desire a product way more than just like it, and user experience design can actually push it to do that. So I'm not saying that's the only thing it does, but it can actually take a product from being just a product, make it likable, make it lovable, and make it desirable over a period of time. And that's the kind of delight that you want to see and you want to do to most of the products that you guys want to be involved in, to make it a business or a brand that's worth it, right? And it's also, from a product life cycle perspective, user experience design makes a product, puts a picture to the product. It's probably a thought, it's a bunch of feature functionality that is there in your head. It is a bunch of things that you want to do with the product, or you want a product to do for your users. But unless you put it into some vague pictorial representation, there is no fullness to it. And that is an easy way to make people in your business team and your technology team understand what you're talking about. And that's another way to use user experience design. Wireframings to quick sketches to whiteboarding, just simple thing of saying that these are the 5 screens that you will move between, those kind of stuff will make people understand very, very, very quickly. That is, the business, technology and the design team together understand very quickly what the product is going to work like or look like, behave like, and work like, to actually make it a worthwhile experience for your users, right? And I think it is also interesting that we need to actually put something interactive in front of your users way before you start coding. You can spend 1 year's time, code the entire stuff down, or a few months' time, code the entire stuff down, put it in front of the user, and what you realize is probably the user will reject it, saying that this doesn't work. But when you actually do this course and do some rough and basic prototypes that are not necessarily coded, and that's exactly what Joe's also meant, saying that without coding, that you can put it in front of the user and immediately start getting feedback. That's another way of actually using user experience design as a concept. So broadly, UX is about all this, right? So it's not one thing. You can actually achieve multiple stuff, but predominantly it is about ability to collaborate very well internally with 3 teams: design, technology, and business. And then externally, you actually get feedback very early from the users, so that you can correct. Like, what the term that we use constantly is fail fast, so that you can fail faster, so that you can get better the next round. So it's an iterative process. So you fail fast so that you can reinvent what you're trying to do over a period of time. I also want to talk about who will benefit from the course and how. On the right hand side, if you see, there is a list, right? Hopefully there is a bunch of people in this crowd who are kind of fit into this list. There is also another list coming up in the next slide. So if you don't fit in, don't panic. It's coming up soon. So there is graphic designer, industrial designer, creative directors, art directors, architects. These are people who have some ability to understand so-called quote-unquote creativity, have worked in fields that are representational, can use pictures, drawings, type in some way to represent stuff. So they can be a part of a technology initiative or an enterprise or a product team in a startup or an enterprise, right? So that is, this course will help you to kind of jump into that very, very quickly, right? The second thing is you already, I mean, if you are an architect, if you are a graphic designer, you have the power of empathy. What I mean by the power of empathy is you constantly are thinking about, in multiple words, people who are going to see it, people who are going to use it, what is your target audience? Or architect would say, who is living here? Who is going to live here? Who is the dweller of this place? And so on. An industrial designer would say, who is going to use it? That's kind of getting closer. An art director would say, who is my target audience, who I need to actually compellingly convince about a product or a service that I'm trying to advertise. So those will help hell of a lot, which is the second point. The third point, you can actually apply your creative abilities to conceptualize and realize technology products very easily, because you probably have an idea that is quite interesting. You can actually put the stuff together and at least pictorially represent it, and that's a good way to kind of mock a technology product before you even go to the technology team, or if everything goes well, a venture capital. So I think that is another method in which you can use this. The last one is, of course, I mean, I think Joe talked about it too, the idea of open new avenues. I mean, if you think you're bored, you're getting a little curdled in what you're doing, it's probably a good way to kind of go to the next step. This is one of those newfangled ideas, but like I said, it's hard work. It's not that you are a UX designer so people will pay. It's hard work to be a UX designer too. It's a commitment of sort, but it's a career path that you can choose. So these are the things that people who are graphic designers, industrial designer, creative director, art director, or architect can do. We go to the next round, right? This is about product managers, tech architects. I don't know whether tech architects would want to do user experience design. I know a few who did at one point in time. Front-end developers, business analysts, project managers, and tech startup founders. So one of the stuff is also that there is a lot of hype about this concept called as design thinking. Everybody is talking about design thinking, and it is a hype, but then it can be applied in interesting ways if it is used in the right way. Right? This one teaches you how to apply design thinking very well, especially for people who are not from the design arena, which essentially means if you actually if you have an idea in your head, if you're a tech architect, you're a technology person, front-end developer, even a startup founder or a wannabe founder, if you are even somebody who's a business analyst who wants to represent any kind of idea to an external audience, user experience design is a great way to do it, right? The founders and teams that are already existing, this is a great tool to demand the right set of things out of your user experience team. Even if you're actually outsourcing, for example, you will know what to demand of that team, because like you rightly said, there is a lot of people walking around saying they are user experience designers who probably aren't, right? But the right way to pick it is by asking them to do this list of things. Can you do it? And can you do it as good as I know about it? Not that you will be doing it, but you'll demand this out of people who are it, and that's the list. So quickly talking about it, apply your new skills to make your technology products more tangible. So you have a great technology idea, quickly put a picture together and make it more tangible, usable, click this, and so you will actually showcase the stuff as tangible product rather than a nebulous idea which is existing somewhere, or even just code. Nobody understands just plain code, right? Like algorithm, you can write the best possible algorithm in the world, but if it doesn't have an interface, nobody will understand it, or nobody will kind of think that it's a worthwhile product, and I've actually faced this with a lot of technology friends of mine who are constantly trying to say that how do I actually put a face to this, right? And that user experience design helps you do that, even if the face is not beautiful looking, it's fine. It actually is skeletal, gives you a quick view of what that stuff can be. This one can help you achieve it. User experience design can help you achieve it. And the last thing, and in no way is it something that we need to negate, is called as the brand experience of something. A brand is a notional idea that's a promise that is typically done by a business. A brand is a kind of a overlying promise that is done by a business through its value proposition of sort, and that has got to be embedded into the way the user experiences. So that is called as brand experience. Like for example, you have a viewpoint about Indigo, for example, when you fly versus Air India. Why is that? It's because the experience that you go through as a user is a part of the brand, right? And the experience that you actually have in an Air India can be probably not as compelling as Indigo would be. So similar is Ola, similar is Uber, and similar is your everyday stuff about a restaurant versus another restaurant. An app or a technology product is pretty much the same. It's exactly the same as that. When you use a technology product, which is even a magazine product or a news product like InShots, we use, so many of us are addicted to kind of InShots that keeps popping up every day. That experience versus actually reading an Economist calls for a different kind of a commitment and calls for a different brand experience, and it's important to understand that too, and that's a part of this deal, right? So this is all the stuff that user experience design course can promise to give you. Now let me quickly go to what are we going to learn in terms of the parts of the puzzle of what user experience design is all about. There are two things that I kept in mind when I actually, if I can use the word, design the course, right, of user experience design. One of the stuff that I kept in mind is that it should not be, crazily intimidating. It should not be, it should not be a wall that I actually go look at the wall and say, listen, this is not for me. Or even go to a class and see an interview and say, listen, this is not for me. So it's got to be easier for people to understand, and should not be drowned in jargons of sort, right? The second thing that I kept in mind is also that it is learning by doing. It is not learning by learning. It is not all theory and drown you with millions of amount of text and, like you read all this and come back and write some stuff. No, it's not like that. This is actually by doing. We are trying to actually do a project. The last batch that we did, people chose certain problems that they solved, or incidentally design is about problem solving. They chose problems that they solved through their technology products and kind of took it from the initial germ of the idea to kind of converting it into as much a prototype as they could towards the end of this stuff. So eventually you will have a portfolio that you can walk out of this course with, right? Like it won't be one nebulous thing where you'll go and say that you're a user experience designer and what do you have to show? Probably nothing. That won't happen with this course. You will have a set of things that you can showcase as your work. So how I have actually done this stuff is, there is an interesting guy. I mean, there's one character called Jesse James Garrett who actually put a stack of things that one above the other to clearly define what are all the elements of user experience design. I've used that as the basic fundamental piece, and I've actually devised exercises that can be done for every class. So if you actually start from the beginning, using technology today is one of the stuff that I will try and run through that using technology today part so that you guys will get a flavor of what I'm trying to do in the course. I mean, of course, we'll go way deeper than that, but I'll kind of run through it today, right? The second one is the elements of user experience design, which is going to actually showcase the stack of saying that what are all the things that actually are called user experience design when they are put together. And for each one of them, what do you need to understand? What is your input? What will be your output? And what is the exercise that can actually take that output out of you? So that is something that I have considered right through, right? So that is elements of UX. The first theoretical chapter that we need to have is about empathy. And because user experience design largely believes about the concept of understanding your user as deeply as you can, so that you can actually use user experience design to create something that they will love. So contexts are important. Context is extremely important. Like for example, where and how will your user use the product? What is the level? Like if you actually, some examples. If the problem is about creating a banking product for rural Karnataka versus creating a banking product for the youth in city, your entire thinking method about the users are completely different. The literacy of technology products comes into play, and the literacy of technology product of a certain type comes into play, and all that, and you got to understand your user very well by doing those three things which I have actually said somewhere in the interview. Ability to observe, ability to immerse yourself in the users themselves, and the third one is ability to participate. It will be good to kind of do some exercises, like try and pay a bill, like an electricity bill, along with somebody who is your target group. Like if it is going to be in the rural banking sector, let us actually walk to the place with that person that you know and actually try paying a bill the way he or she pays the bill. And try to do the same thing with your youth in the city, and how they will pay the bill. It's a completely different process, and it is good to understand those things and ready your head to kind of start thinking about them. So the first one is empathy. Empathy, who's the user? So ability to observe, immerse and participate with the user, right? The second one, the second theoretical or chapter 4 is product definition. Product definition is a little deeper. This is, I wouldn't say it's purely owned by user experience design. It's a collective ownership between those three teams that typically makes a business, which is actually the business team, which is probably talking about the the viability of a product. If I put in so much money, will I get return out of the business? The first thing that you will think of when you look at it as a business team. Then you will have the technology team, which will look at the feasibility and performance of the product itself. And then there is the usability and user experience, which will be the design team that will look into it. These three teams are equally responsible to define the product in a good way. And the product definition is about writing the right set of useful set of features and functionalities that will build the product very well, and so on. Okay, so it is about defining the product itself, right? That is chapter 4. Chapter 5 is about information architecture. Information architecture is like the foundational piece to actually building any product. What is it? It's like you want to build a house. If you want to build a house, you know that you got to largely have about 5 rooms, because you know that your kids need a room, blah needs a room, somebody needs a room, you need a room to sit and eat in, you need a kitchen, you need blah. All that. If you actually know all that, if you look at the plan that is underlying on that stuff and the foundation which is at the bottom of it, the structure of the foundation are all the pillars that is going to hold the entire house up, and most of them are around these rooms. And that method of actually boxing those pieces up is information architecture. Is ability to kind of say that I want 18 different pieces of information that will be accessible and interactive with the user. And how will I do it? Is what information architecture is about. The next one is about interaction design. Interaction design is about how I will move through. It's slightly different from navigation, UI and navigation design. The reason being that interaction design is largely about task flows. Task flows are about, you got to get a ticket booked. So you go through a set of processes, right? Like typically you go discover the right kind of flight, train, whatever you're booking your ticket on. You will actually see whether there is a seat available. If it is available, you want to know about the price, you want to know about the date, if you're not particular about a specific date, and so on. Then you will actually go and find a seat for yourself, book it, pay for it, get a printout or get a mail, and that kind of completes an entire process. And that flow is extremely important. That's the flow which is typically called as task flows, or in this case interactive design. Chapter 7 is about building user prototypes, quick and dirty prototypes. It need not be fashionable prototypes that are coded. It could be just simple paper prototypes that are drawn, and from there how do you actually move to some of the tools that you have to prototype. There are, I mean, I don't teach the tools, somebody else teaches the tools in the course, but you will also get to learn some key tools that will help you to kind of build the prototypes of sort. The chapter 8 is about user testing. Okay, you built a prototype, can you put it in front of this, the farmer in the rural, in the village who is actually trying to pay the bill, and ask him, you know, how does it feel to actually look at this stuff, or the youth in front, in the urban who's trying to pay his or her bill. And I think that is the user testing. You will get some feedback. So you, again, I'll reiterate this piece. You will learn to fail fast so that you can iterate and do it better again and take it to the user again. And you will fail faster and you will take it to the user again till you get to the point where you got the perfect prototype, not necessarily spent too much money on it by building the code, and then you will actually build the entire product. That's largely what that stuff is about, of user testing. Chapter 9 is about information visual design, which is, information design is all about priorities. Something needs to be more bigger than the other on a page level, and visual design is about how do you actually make your brand work harder using typography, color palette, and so on. You know, that's the kind of stuff that information and visual design is all about. Chapter 10 is about content. Now, there was a question at some point in time asking, will I know how to write? No, you won't know how to write. This course doesn't teach you how to write, but you will know what are all the content pieces that you need to build a product and put together. And you will know what to demand of your content person to put that stuff together. Having said that, if you're a user experience designer with a penchant for writing, there is something which is a completely new area, which is also something that we have included in this, called as user experience writing, which is very simple, which is informational, instructional, those kind of stuff. To see a cheaper ticket, click here. Those kind of writing that is compelling enough for somebody to actually make them do the stuff without being straight, being clear, and making language another method to guide the user to achieve the goal faster. That is something that we'll visit, but not about your brand. I mean, it won't tell you how to write your about us for your company. I mean, I wouldn't even know how to write about us for my company. So that is a skill that you need to demand of somebody else. But content here talks about what are all the multiple content pieces that are needed, how can they come together as a part of a single user experience design. Chapter 11 is about final product. Final product has got lots more than you think it does. It's got to have a brand, it's got to have a method in which you put all the brand pieces together. It's got the prototype that has been fleshed out with visual design and looks rich and beautiful, and that can be actually start to build it in using technology, and probably spend some money and time on it so that you can go out to somebody and say, listen, this is what my product is. And that is the final product. We'll visit that. Chapter 12 is about all the tools and techniques, and there are some small things of tools and techniques that are going to be thrown right through the course itself, but there is a focused tools and techniques thing on chapter 12, which is more about working on specific tools and understanding. I mean, there are too many tools that you use for prototyping right now, too many tools that are used for even graphic design, simple design right now. If you can kind of spend some time and gather some of these nuances about these tools, that will help you to become a user experience designer. That's broadly what the content of this stuff is. You know, what I'm going to do is, before going to that other stuff, I'm going to ask you guys if there are any questions on any of these pieces. Go ahead. Wow, so many hands. Go for it. Sorry, what's the difference?
What is the difference between interaction design and navigation?
Okay, navigation is typically for content-based sites. In Jesse James Garrett's thought, navigation design is when you actually have a lot of information rather than having a whole bunch of tasks, right? So interaction design is when you actually have a task and a task flow, right? but you have a like a website, like say Wikipedia or even a YouTube, or even your corporate website or your brand website that you're going to do, that will be about navigation.
What is the basic difference between UI and visual design?
UI is skeletal, visual design is fully loaded. UI is skeletal, visual design is fully loaded. It's got all the color, blah blah, all the stuff, looks as good as final.
And in the information architecture,
I think we should pass around some more questions. We'll come back to it. Yeah.
Ask question. All right. So you said that I think there's different stages to the UX process.
Yeah.
One is empathy, and then at some point you kind of interpret your user research.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you heard, like there's this story about Henry Ford going around asking people, what do you like?
Sure.
And people said we want faster horses.
Yeah.
Is there, like, how does one, is there any methodology to interpreting your user research? In that example of Henry Ford, why does one decide to build a car when someone else says that we want faster horses? Why not feed them steroids and make them faster horses?
I didn't get your name.
Yeah. Akshay.
Akshay, this course is about user experience design. It's not about inventing stuff. Okay, so if you want to invent stuff that is a completely new product, then your question, what you asked, is absolutely valid. But here, it is about problems that already exist out there and that needs to be solved. So one of the stuff that we are assuming is that at the end of the course, I will be very surprised and I'll be delighted if you actually manage to invent something that is ground up. Right? But the idea here is to iterate and get something that is there in your mind to a more tangible format which is usable and useful.
Sure.
So Ford invented, we won't.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's short.
So can I just ask one last question?
Sure, please, go ahead.
So with UX design is specifically for digital product design.
Yeah, it's good to say that, but like for example, the company that Jose works for, which is Ether Design,
Yeah.
There has been instances where they have used it for physical product design, a method in which is called as display and control. Like a coffee maker has got problems that, like Tesla today is trying out a whole bunch of stuff on their dash, right? Like the looking at the dash. Forget all that. I can actually throw all the screens away. The basic idea of design, which is actually going from ability to empathize with something and kind of prototype it and test it till the other end, is something, once you learn it, you can apply for anything. Having said that, for the sake of keeping the course the boundaries right, we are doing it for digital products. You're right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Pleasure. There was a question there. Yeah.
Hi. So while we're in this course, how many real life projects would we get to handle?
One.
Just one.
Yeah. If you guys are enthusiastic and you want to handle more, please feel free and I'll guide you right through the stuff. But what I want to stress on is this. I want to stress on the idea of, like, I think that the end product is comparatively less important than the process that you go through. And when you actually go out there and look for a job or a placement or any kind of stuff, they are not interested in end product. This lady who talked about the entire idea of user experience design, she and many other people who are at the client side can make a mistake looking at just the end product alone. Right? So it's about process. It's about ability to kind of see every possible small deliverable that you can do right through the process. So if I reiterate my answer, I would say many deliverables, one project.
Also, I have another question. So,
Please go for it.
I run a design agency, and I usually outsource my design work to people who are freelancers.
You run a design agency and you outsource your.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
that needs some time to sink it. Right.
So I do the strategy part. So most of the design is done by someone else.
Okay.
Also, how do I handle iterations? Like I have had clients who have like tens of iterations, right?
Yeah.
I can't keep getting back to the person who's designing the website. Like, no, this is another change. This is another change. every third day I have like 10 changes for my clients. So how do I handle that?
That's a project management issue, and I think there is a method in which you can actually say this is the scope. Everything other than a change request, which means I will decide whether to charge or not. That's a contractual issue that should be put in. It's got nothing to do with the course, but just to, because I've been an entrepreneur, have seen that side of clients, which is pretty ugly. So what we used to do as a process is to actually create something called as a change request form, that you typically say that up to 3 changes are okay. After that, you will be charged for every change that you do, and that is contractually done. And then there is a change request form that they've got to fill and send, and you will evaluate how complicated that change is. Does that help? Yeah. That's it. No questions. There.
Hi, I'm Sam. Actually, I'm working on a startup. So I used to hire some people for UX and all those stuff. So I used to see a lot of profiles that say UX and UI. So what is this course? After the completion of the course, if we enroll, we can be
So I've got a
promoters UX and UI, or is just UX?
I got the drift. So
Yeah.
let me ask you the one question right back at you. Between you and I, do we understand exactly what the difference between UX and UI?
Sorry?
You and I, do we understand the difference between UX and UI?
Yes.
Sorry, if I can engage me, just tell me what UI is.
So UI is about the visual part.
Okay, fair enough.
Just UX is about the how user interacts and just framework, just without any color.
Okay, so there is this interesting thing that I use, like equivalent to e-commerce that I use in a retail thing. If you go to a mall, there is and you want to buy, you are very, very clear that you want to buy a blue hoodie, right? That's what you want to buy. You are very clear about it when you actually set out, and you actually go through a set of processes. You search out for a blue hoodie. You kind of generally know a brand that you want to do. Then you walk up to the mall. You actually meet you got 8 shops that you kind of decide that in the 8 shops, which one will probably give you the right thing. Then you will go to that specific place, and meet that person who is actually trying to sell you that hoodie, probably negotiate with that person, and eventually swipe your card, buy the hoodie, walk back. This entire story is called user experience or customer experience, right? In that, the shop, the brand, and that hoodie which is in that shop is the UI. Right now, if somebody says UX/UI, it means they understand the concept of UX, which is the larger framework. In that, they can actually create user interfaces. Right? If somebody says user experience researcher, they don't understand the UI part of it, but they understand the empathy part of it very well. If somebody says the user experience strategist, they understand giving a strategy to how it's got to be done, but can't really do it as a UI. Right? And so on. There are like multiple nuances of it. The unfortunate part of great topics, or rather great well-defined areas of education, well-defined areas of career, is that everybody tries to make a small offshoot of it to try and fit himself in it. Unfortunately, this UX/UI/design thinking / it kind of all means the same, while there are small niches that, unfortunately is occupied by people who can do it and can't do it too. So the quick and dirty answer for you is that I would largely trust that person as somebody who can do the visual stuff, but largely understands the framework. Are we done? Okay. I think we probably need to move to Dharmesh. It's probably a good idea to move to Dharmesh. We'll come back and quickly run through the first thing if we have time at all. We are kind of running short of time. Yeah, there's a question there.
See, actually, I want to play with the colors, like suppose in the user experience, when it comes to contents, or I keep getting new ideas about my startup, put something into the website. I was told that after 3 changes, you're going to charge from the designer side. So what do you suggest? Like I go through the course, but I don't want to go through the website designing and then go get into the UX.
No, you shouldn't go through the course. I don't think you should go through the course because, yeah, I mean, the reason you shouldn't go through the course because that, like your needs seem to be too specific. And this course is for somebody who wants to continue this entire thing for a while to come, right?
So
So,
only for my startup, you say that don't go through the course.
yes, yeah, don't do that at all. That will be too much.
But if I go on asking for changes, that will cost me a lot, right?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Work costs money.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Instead of paying to that guy, why shouldn't I go through the course and then keep doing the things?
You want to do the course or you don't want to do the course?
That's what I'm asking you.
I don't know the answer for that. You got to convince yourself, not me. You got to
Instead of paying to the person,
Ma'am, no, let me make it simpler. All I'm giving you is a menu. You choose what you want to do with it. I can't.
No, which is cost effective, I'm asking.
No idea. I'm clueless. I don't know how much you're going to pay to who after 3 iterations. So I think it's better to kind of get that in place here. I can't, honestly, I can't be commenting on your business model. Yeah.
A cat killed. Average is dead.